The Soviet Crystal Radio Model 3D from the LCF Group Collection.
Hello, my name is David Larson, and my wife and I were fortunate to travel in the Soviet Union in 1990, and being a collector of antique electronic equipment, radios and microcomputers, our Soviet friends over the years gathered some electronic things for us, and one of those nice things they gathered for us was this antique crystal radio. This is a Soviet radio system. It has the typical things that a crystal radio has: an internal capacitor for changing the resonance of the coil, a switch for changing the resonance of the coil. That's how you tune the radio station. It has a detector inside. We're going to look at that in a moment. And then plug-in jacks to plug in the antenna, the ground, and the earphones. We don't know the actual age of this radio. We suspect it's in the early 20s. If any viewers would know about this radio or have more information, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Well, we've taken the crystal radio out of its case, and here in the lower part you see the capacitor. Here's the inductor, and then the switch under here for changing the inductance, for tuning the radio station. And over on this side, an encapsulated detector, which would be a crystal detector or rectifier. See, very simple. Three components that are really working: a capacitor, inductor, detector, and of course the rest of the radio consists of an antenna and ground and earphones. Now we're going to take a close-up look at the Soviet crystal radio. We're looking at the front here. Not really too much to see here, but we'll just take a close-up here of the controls. This is the capacitor control. And down here is the inductor control. 3-position. Those are the only tuning controls on the radio. The rest of the tuning would be from just the length of the antenna and so forth. Well, we don't know the date of this radio, but we do have a clue here. Looking at the back of the radio, and there's a 23 on it. And then some Cyrillic letters off to the left, a 23. Of course, we would interpret that to mean this was made in 1923. And that would make sense. That would be about the right time. Looking at the nameplate on the side of the crystal radio, we see that it says 3 Delta Radio, Moscow 29. I can't read the rest of the Soviet or Cyrillic letters, but I do see the 3 Delta Radio and then Moscow and 29. So it looks like the model is probably 3 Delta. There's a 29 on here. Does that give us a clue this was made in 1929? We're not sure, but it probably came out of Moscow. This is the only nameplate on the radio itself. Yeah, looking at the components inside, here's the variable capacitor. It looks like it's not the oldest kind of capacitor, but it's a little hard to tell. But that's the capacitor, variable capacitor. Here's the inductor with a switch, which allows 3 positions, so we can have 3 different inductances. Again, that doesn't look like it's in the teens, but it's hard for me to tell. But this is the inductor with the switch. And here's the diode. It's encapsulated, which leads me to believe too that it's probably not in the teens, even though it could have been. Here's the symbol for diode. This is no doubt a crystal diode, encapsulated crystal diode. So there's your 3 components: capacitor, inductor, and the diode detector.
My wife Gaynell and I were very fortunate to be traveling in the Soviet Union in the early 1990s, and for many years thereafter, in developing friends who helped us acquire some interesting antique radios and ham radio and computers from the Soviet Union. The LCF group hopes to have a full-fledged museum here in Floyd, Virginia in the future, displaying displaying this equipment. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.